Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Rilus. I'm joined today with attorney Will Graves. Say hello.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to be back on the live network here with Rilus. He didn't leave me in the office to work today, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, you've it's been a little while since you've been on a broadcast, hasn't it?
It's been a little while, but I'm still here. I'm still existing. It's not just because I'm not live doesn't mean I'm not hard at work.
And I think in the past you've been you haven't in the studio, right?
Right now we're in the room. Believe it or
Yeah.
not, even with the pandemic, but we got space between us.
We're putting with all the microphones, lights, sound. We'll see.
It's
We can
professional.
see how it sounds. Our new studio. Okay, so today's topic, Will's, while I've been doing these broadcasts and other things, you've had a lot of clients that get LLCs or that need limited liability companies. So we want to speak about that today. But before we get into that, let's review a little bit what we've done on some of the last streams. And let's see, let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. There we go. There's our website. I want to go over some of the last stream. I call that the Macaulay Culkin.
Is that what that is?
I don't know. That's what I call, or the Home Alone.
Oh, the Home
Is that like the Home
Alone.
Alone?
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know
what
why
you look like.
YouTubers do that. I don't know if it's a good look, bad look. But last week I talked about NFTs and cryptocurrency, how you should hold your Bitcoin and cryptocurrency if you have any, how you should include it in your estate plan. So check that out if you're interested in cryptocurrency, if you're interested in getting some, or if you already have some, or NFTs. I think it's a really exciting topic just because I think blockchain is going to change our whole world. So NFTs a little bit. Have you been hearing NFTs
Yeah, well,
in the news?
you've been teaching me about them, and you look excited about them in your photo there. That's for sure. And yeah, I'm kind of I get them from time to time. Clients asking how we can include those, so it's good to learn about.
Yeah. So in the past, I did a broadcast. You can go back, Three Secrets of the Rich. And again, I don't know if these I'll call them stupid, these dumb thumbnails. If they
Yeah.
get more views, it's more like a YouTuber.
Yeah, you look interesting at least, and not boring like a regular attorney.
Yeah. Okay, so Dana and Associates, that's today's sponsor of the broadcast. That's where we practice law in Arizona and California. Will's not a California guy; he's just Arizona. I do a
Yep,
little
one state only.
California. All right, let's talk about unlimited liability versus limited liability, and then we'll have questions about LLCs. And you're gonna get a little bit tighter in the shot, Will. You're starting to get out. There you go.
Here we go.
Yeah, there you're in the shot that way. All right, unlimited liability. Here's what that looks like. So Mr. Estate, he's got all these houses, and someone gets injured in one of his properties. So so what assets are at risk if there's an injury and he owns all of these properties individually? So what's at risk, Will?
His personal assets.
Yeah, so all of those things are at risk. So that's an example of unlimited liability. Owning all your assets just in your name personally with no extra business structures or no other layers to your plan. So limited liability, here's what that looks like. So Mr. Estate puts this property into an LLC, and if the liability incurs inside of that LLC, so they have the same injury, but this time the injury occurs on a property that's owned by an LLC. So in this case, what would be at risk, Will?
So in this case, the property is owned by the LLC. So really, it's just the LLC assets that are at risk from a business-related injury.
Yeah, so that's kind of the concept of LLCs. So how let me get this off my screen. I'm, there we go. There we go. So how do people usually bring up LLCs to you? How do you end up talking about LLCs so much?
Yeah, well, when I'm meeting with clients, people today just have different ways of producing income and investments. And one of those ways is side businesses, whether they're 100% full-time for themselves, working for themselves, or maybe they have a job, but they also have a side hustle, like residential real estate is the most common, where people have bought houses and they rent those houses out and make money that way.
Yeah, so rental real estate is definitely the most common thing that we see, but it is some other side hustles or side businesses, right? They might run,
It could be anything.
who knows, like selling
Stand,
or-
buying and selling cars. I mean, people get into all kinds of things that they might be doing.
I would say that's probably like 20% of the LLCs we do, if I'm going to make up some statistics.
Yeah.
And then about 80% are rental real estate.
Yeah, the majority are residential or rental real estate.
Yeah, so rental real estate, let me ask you some questions. Let's see if this comes up. We'll put you on the spot.
Sure.
So, Will, I want to transfer my LLC, or I have a rental property, but I have a mortgage on it. Can I add it to my LLC?
Well, you can, but you'd probably be triggering this thing that was written into the mortgage called due on sale or due on transfer clause. So that's something that says that the owner can't transfer it. Otherwise, it's possible that the whole mortgage becomes due. Typically, we found that this doesn't get enforced, though. They just want to be paid their monthly mortgage payments. But they commonly ask, should we be telling the mortgage company that we're transferring the house into an LLC? And really, the LLC, for the most part, with these residential real estate owners, is they're still the owner of the LLC, and they're still going to be making their payments. It's just it's out of their name at that point.
Yeah, so that's kind of a topic that comes up a lot. You know, the acceleration clause, the due on sale clause, and you know, I'll bring it up to people. Some people already aware of that? Do people ask you that question?
Some people are aware of it, and a lot of people have already done it. You know, they've put their residential property in an LLC, and they're aware of it. But you know, the mortgage company doesn't know or doesn't care as long as they're being paid.
Yeah. So right. Yeah. As long as they're getting paid, you know, the bank or the mortgage company, they still have a security interest in the house and the underlying asset, whether the owner of that asset is an individual or the owner is an LLC, a limited liability company. If the bank doesn't get paid, they can still foreclose on the house the same way.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and I think every contract, probably every mortgage contract, there is that, they call it an acceleration clause, or sometimes known as a due on sale clause. So yeah, technically, if the ownership changes, the bank could accelerate the mortgage and make it all due. Now, I've had people where they want to get permission from the bank. You know, they want to go to the bank and say, "Hey, I want you to transfer my mortgage." You know, they want to transfer the debt. Sometimes this comes up when they're doing their estate plan, we're doing a trust. People will say, "How do I transfer my mortgage into the trust?" It's like, you know, we don't care about the debt, right? We're trying to pass the assets,
The equity, right?
And it's kind of the same thing for an LLC. We're just going to put the asset that you own in there. The bank or whoever has the mortgage, their security interest is tied to that property. If you go to the mortgage company and ask them if you can transfer the LLC, they're probably going to tell you no. Now, sometimes either small banks or business banks that work with investors, if they're getting the loan in the beginning for rental real estate, some banks, they will issue a mortgage in the name of the LLC, but I'd say talk to your mortgage broker, because it depends if you're going to occupy the property for yourself or treat it as a rental. It's going to be different.
Right. And it is different, you know, in contrast that with a trust, like the laws allow people to transfer their houses that they're owning and living in to their revocable trust, and that's not going to cause this sort of problems.
Yes, with revocable trust, it's crystal clear. There's a federal law,
Yeah.
you know, saying that it doesn't, it's not going to trigger it. With LLCs, it's a little, you know, sometimes we debate the issue, some other attorneys, about single member LLCs. You know, so if it's a single member LLC owned just by their trust, you know, then that's pretty clear. It's treated the same. If it's a multi-member, you know, maybe a little bit different entity.
Dynamic, yeah.
Like I've heard some attorneys say, you know, if you transfer into single member LLC, you have to change the ownership of the property, right? So that's kind of like a gray area out of that acceleration clause. And again, banks, they like interest, right? They typically don't like owning properties. They like interest.
Yeah.
And they don't like hard questions, right? So if you ask them, can I change the ownership, or will this trigger the acceleration clause? They go to legal and they actually have to look at that contract, and it's in there.
But
what they can't tell you is, hey, we're not going to enforce it, right? They can't actually tell you that.
yeah,
So all they can tell you is if you ask for permission to transfer it, they can say no.
right.
And then it's on their, and you put it on their radar. And just to be clear, if you're not going to tell your bank, that means that you shouldn't get documents notarized at your bank for the LLC. I feel like I shouldn't have to say that, but I had some people in Beverly Hills do exactly just that. So we had the whole conversation about acceleration clause and basically explain the risk, see if they're comfortable taking that risk. But if they do, I recommended that they did not tell their bank. They went to their bank to get their documents notarized, the deed and the last will and testament.
And the bank actually read the documents. I would imagine the bank just
I
put a
think
stamp on it and walked away.
I think that's what they were planning on, but they're like, wait a minute,
Oh yeah, what is this?
the bank, and it is a big major bank too, but they were like, wait a minute, like this is
Yeah.
we can't sign this. But anyways, acceleration clause. So that's one thing. What other common questions do you get with LLCs, or how do they come up with your clients?
Yeah, another common question I get is, how many LLCs should I do? Like a lot of times people have more than one rental property, and so they're like, should I create 4 LLCs for 4 different rental properties? And it just depends on how much limited liability they want to get. If they put house 1 into LLC 1 and they get some sort of a lawsuit out of that LLC, then it's limited to just that house, the equity in that house and that business. But there is more administration in that too, right? You got to open up 4 bank accounts and file 4 schedules in your tax returns, and so it might not be worth it for some people, but others really want that limited liability protection, and so they might want to do 4 different LLCs.
Yeah. So what I recommend to people is that they look at the equity in there. So number one, it's a question, like you said, is how big of a monster do they want to create, right? How much annual maintenance? I know your accountant will like you if you have one for each property. They like they'll probably
Extra
charge you by
schedules,
each return and each thing. But what I recommend is look at the total equity in each LLC, the total amount of equity in each LLC. So a lot of investors, what I see is they have about $500,000 of equity per LLC, or maybe they have some of them that have tons of properties. They have like 5 or 10 properties per LLC. They just have a string of them that way.
Yeah.
So, all right, good. So how many of them? Acceleration laws. What else do people ask about LLCs?
So another common question I'd say is about your tax returns, and so some people are concerned that they're going to have to file an additional tax return, and that's part of the reason that LLCs are popular. Say more so than corporations for a lot of these people, is that you get that pass-through taxation eligibility. So you can treat your LLC like a disregarded entity, so it doesn't have to file that extra tax return, and the income just passes through it, and you file a personal tax return reporting that income and loss.
Yes, for a single member LLC.
Right, or a partnership.
Yeah. So if it's a partnership, it doesn't get taxed like a corporation, right? Corporations have an extra layer of taxation.
Yeah, we sometimes refer to that as double taxation, where the corporation has to file a tax return once, and then the income passes through it, and then the owners have to file another one reporting that income again.
Yeah. So how about S elections? Do people ever ask you about those?
About what?
S corps.
S corps, right? Yeah. So you can have an LLC and choose to be treated like an S corp. So some people have those, and that's another way of receiving pass-through taxation.
Yeah, the S corp, the S election, that's a talk to your accountant question.
Yeah.
But we don't see very many corporations anymore because of all the formalities associated with corporations. With corporations, you have to file annual minutes and a report every year.
Right.
So one of the main benefits of an LLC is you don't have to do that. So people that want the tax benefits, like an of an S corp, there's actually no such thing as an S corp. You can either elect to have a corporation. A corporation can choose an S election, or an LLC can also choose to be taxed like a corporation and then do that S election. All right, good. Anything else with LLCs? Any other common things that come up?
I think that we kind of covered it. I do sometimes want to emphasize to people that, creating an LLC doesn't necessarily limit liability that they create themselves. Like if you're renting a house to a tenant and you go over there and punch that tenant in the face, like you're liable just because your house is owned by the LLC doesn't mean that you're not personally liable. It's your own misconduct that you yourself did. So in that situation, you get sued personally as opposed to your LLC or something.
Yeah, and a good point. Something less obvious than a punch in the face
Right.
is if you go fix something in the property. If you go to the property and fix something, and it breaks and they get injured because of your work, then you have liability as someone that did work on the property, not just the owner of it.
Yeah.
So that's where you have, I think they call it the outside in protection and the inside out type of things.
Right. And then an LLC, you can, the LLC itself will get sued for if the business kind of fails or it has an obligation that it didn't meet. Those business related things. Keep your personal assets protected.
Yeah. So where can people learn more about LLCs?
That's a good question. I guess my first thought is the Arizona Corporation Commission, which is where you file for an LLC.
Yeah, that's one place. How about our website? We have some good resources there.
It's a good one too. Yes, for sure.
So you just wrote a really good article. Let's see, where is that? We just posted it right here. Business interests must be included in your estate plan. So you can go to our website, danalegalhelp.com. Will did a good job explaining some of the basics about an LLC and how they work together with your estate plan.
Right. These are a lot of the questions that we were just talking about, and they're common questions that we receive from clients, and it's helpful to have all that in our website.
And then you can always call us, come see us, and you can schedule a time to come with us. I have it going across the screen for our personal family legal. Oh, there we go. Let's remove that. There we go. Yeah, give us a call, 480-924-4424 if you want to take a look at your estate plan, see if you're doing your LLCs properly, see if they're included in your estate plan properly. Other things I see, other common mistakes where people have an LLC, but it doesn't actually own the rental property. And to the LLC, so they've kind of gone through the motions, but it's not giving any protection.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely want to not just create an LLC, but you need to deed your rental property to the LLC. You need a bank account set up by your LLC, and that bank account receives the income and pays the expenses. So this is all kind of just keeping your business assets separate from your personal assets. So you kind of build this wall so it's easy for a court, if it ever came down to it, could easily see you're treating this as a business and not just a hobby or as your personal assets.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Let us know in the comments other topics that you'd like to hear about. Things that's going to be coming up. I want to do some more videos talking about advanced estate planning. Going to be talking about the ABC trust, which is a little bit more complicated. It's a trust for married people. It also has some extra tax planning in there. So in order to fully understand the ABC trust, we also got to talk about community property. So I'll be doing some updated videos about community property. You can go on the Maat Legal YouTube channel and see some of our old school videos that I have about community property. I'll also be doing some new tax videos. You got to understand your 3 basic taxes, which is, what are the 3 basic taxes, Will?
The 3 basic taxes?
Yeah, what are the types of taxes?
Like the death tax.
That's one.
Income tax.
2.
Sales tax.
Yeah, that's one. Gift tax.
Gift tax.
It works kind of together with the estate tax. And then we'll talk about basis and step up in basis, marital deduction, annual exclusion, lifetime exclusion.
Jeez, We might need an accountant for that one.
So some good stuff. I'm really excited. I was planning on talking about that some today about the LLCs. I wanted to focus on them themselves, but I'll work on some of the materials so we can go over all those heavy tax things. Yeah. So I feel like on our website and our videos, we have a really good base. We have our videos from, explain what is an estate, what a trust is, and all of those all the way up. So now we can build on and get a little bit more complicated and talk about things like community property and, when people have, his and her money and so that type of fun stuff. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Leave your comments below. We'll check them and see what else you want to hear about, anything you'd like to learn about, and reach out to us. You can meet with Willa or myself to update your estate plan. We'll be happy to help you get set up, get your family protected, get your property protected as well.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.